First Contact and Betrayal. Commander Natasha Volkov stood at the helm of the ESS Pathfinder, humanity's most advanced deep space research vessel, as it approached the massive structure floating in the void. The object had appeared on their long-range scanners 3 weeks ago, defying all known natural phenomena. Its perfectly geometrical shape, a massive dodecahedron spanning several kilometers, confirmed what humanity had long suspected. We were not alone. Energy readings are stable, Commander. Lieutenant James Rodriguez reported from his station. The structure appears to be generating some kind of quantum field, but it's not interfering with our systems. Natasha nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the magnificent construct before them. After 20 years of deep space exploration, this was humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. The weight of this moment wasn't lost on her or her crew of 300. Broadcasting first contact protocols on all frequencies, Communications Officer Diana Patil announced, her fingers dancing across her holographic interface. Wait, we're receiving a response. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that appeared almost crystalline in nature. Its translucent body pulsed with internal light, and multiple appendages moved with hypnotic grace. When it spoke, its words were translated through their advanced AI systems. Greetings, travelers. I am Nexus Guide Zarkax of the Crystalline Concordat. We welcome you to our observation post. The alien's voice carried a melodious quality that seemed to resonate with the ship's hull. Natasha stepped forward, following the carefully crafted first contact protocols developed by Earth's finest diplomats and sinologists. I am Commander Natasha Volkov of the Earth science ship Pathfinder. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. The crystalline being's light patterns shifted to what appeared to be a warmer hue. Your arrival was foreseen, Commander. We have watched your species' development with great interest. Please, dock with our station. There is much to discuss. Over the next several days, the crew of the Pathfinder learned of a vast interstellar community. The Crystalline Concordat presented themselves as benevolent observers, monitoring developing civilizations and helping them join the galactic community. They shared technological insights that seemed centuries beyond human understanding, promising to help humanity advance rapidly. But Dr. Viktor Petrov, the ship's chief scientist, noticed concerning patterns in the data they were receiving. Commander, he approached Natasha in her private quarters. Something isn't right. The technological specifications they're sharing, they're too perfect, too convenient. It's as if they're leading us down a specific path. Natasha finished his thought. She had noticed it too. Every piece of technology they were offered seemed designed to integrate with specific Earth systems, despite the Concordat supposedly having no prior contact with humanity. Before they could investigate further, the Pathfinder sensors detected massive energy signatures emerging from hyperspace. Dozens of crystalline vessels, their designs far more aggressive than the observation post, surrounded them. Zarkax's next transmission dropped all pretense of friendliness. Your species has proven most interesting, Commander Volkov. Your adaptability, your resilience, these are traits we seek to harvest. Your bodies will make excellent vessels for our consciousness transfer protocols. The truth became horrifyingly clear. The Crystalline Concordat wasn't a benevolent observer. They were parasites, using advanced technology to lure developing civilizations into a false sense of security before taking over their bodies as hosts. All hands, battle stations. Natasha's order rang through the ship. But the Pathfinder was a research vessel, not a warship. Their chances of fighting back were minimal. That's when Dr. Petrov made a discovery that would change everything. Commander, the quantum field, it's not just for communication. It's their consciousness network, if we can disrupt it. Working frantically, the science team modified their sensors to emit a counter-frequency. The crystalline beings had never encountered a species that could understand their technology quickly enough to use it against them. As the disruptor pulse activated, the massive alien vessels began to shudder. Full power to engines, Natasha commanded. Broadcast everything we've learned on all emergency frequencies. Earth needs to know what's coming. The Pathfinder broke free of the alien formation, its makeshift defensive system keeping the crystalline ships at bay. But their victory was short-lived. A massive energy surge from the observation post caught them off guard, crippling their engines. As emergency systems failed around them, Natasha made her final log entry. To anyone who finds this, the crystalline concordat is a lie. They're coming for Earth, but we found their weakness. Humanity isn't as defenseless as they think. Remember, their consciousness network is vulnerable to quantum disruption. We die today so Earth can prepare. Show them humanity's true strength. The Pathfinder's database pod ejected moments before the ship was enveloped in a crystalline energy field. But the crew's sacrifice wouldn't be in vain. They had exposed the enemy's true nature and discovered their fundamental weakness. Humanity would be ready when the Concordat came. As the pod streaked through space toward Earth, carrying its vital intelligence, it marked the beginning of humanity's greatest challenge, and the first step toward proving that the human spirit was more resilient than any crystalline consciousness could comprehend. Underground resistance. 2 years after the Pathfinder incident, humanity learned the true meaning of desperation. The crystalline Concordat's invasion had been swift and devastating, their superior technology overwhelming Earth's unified defenses within weeks. But they hadn't counted on humanity's greatest trait, our absolute refusal to submit. Deep beneath the ruins of Vancouver, Colonel Rebecca Martinez surveyed the makeshift command center of the North American resistance. Holographic displays showed the movement of crystalline patrols above, their ships casting eerie blue shadows over the abandoned streets. "Status report on Project Quantum," she asked, turning to Dr. Raj Kumar, their lead scientist who had been part of the team that decoded the Pathfinder's last transmission. "The disruption field generators are ready," Raj replied, pulling up schematics on the main display. "We've managed to miniaturize the technology based on Dr. Petrov's original designs. Each unit can disrupt their consciousness network within a 50-meter radius. The problem is power. We can only keep them running for about 10 minutes before they burn out." Rebecca nodded grimly. 10 minutes wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. The resistance had learned that when cut off from their consciousness network, the crystalline beings became disoriented, their physical forms vulnerable to conventional weapons. "What about the hosts?" Lieutenant Jackson asked from his station, voicing the question everyone dreaded. Some of Earth's population had been forcibly converted into crystalline hybrids, their bodies serving as vessels for alien consciousness. Among them was Jackson's sister. "The latest tests show the process can be reversed if we maintain disruption long enough," Raj answered carefully. "But we haven't been able to verify long-term survival rates." Rebecca was about to respond when the bunker's sensors triggered an alert. "Multiple signatures approaching from the east," the tactical officer reported. "Energy patterns match harvester units." Harvesters, the very name made Rebecca's blood run cold. Massive crystalline structures that roamed the ruins, collecting human survivors for processing. But this time, they were ready. "Initialize Operation Shattered Glass," Rebecca commanded. Throughout the underground complex, resistance fighters moved with practiced precision. This wasn't just another raid. It was humanity's first coordinated offensive against their oppressors. Teams of fighters emerged from hidden access points across the city, each carrying the newly developed disruption generators. The plan was simple but dangerous. Create a web of overlapping disruption fields, trap the harvesters, and prove that humanity could fight back. "First wave, activate on my mark." Rebecca's voice crackled through secured comm channels. She watched the harvesters move closer on tactical displays, their crystalline structures gleaming in the morning sun. "Mark." The air itself seemed to shimmer as dozens of disruption fields activated simultaneously. The effect on the harvesters was immediate. Their smooth movements became erratic, their crystalline surfaces clouding with interference patterns. "Second wave, move in," Rebecca ordered. Teams armed with specially designed sonic weapons advanced. They had discovered that crystalline structures, once cut off from their network, became brittle and susceptible to specific frequencies. The battle that followed would become legendary in resistance circles. For the first time, humans watched harvesters shatter, their broken forms revealing the complex machinery within. But victory came at a cost. The disruption fields were burning out faster than expected, and the Concordat was adapting. They're rerouting power to some kind of shielding system, Raj reported urgently. Disruption effectiveness dropping. Rebecca made a split-second decision. All teams, fall back to secondary positions. Initiate Protocol Omega. Protocol Omega was their failsafe, a massive electromagnetic pulse combined with their strongest disruption field. It would destroy most of their equipment. But if it worked, the pulse lit up the sky like an artificial dawn. Every piece of technology in a 5-kilometer radius went dark, including their own systems. But when emergency power came back online, they witnessed something extraordinary. The harvesters hadn't just been disabled. They had completely collapsed, their crystalline structures reduced to inert shards. As teams moved in to secure the area, they made an even more important discovery. Among the wreckage, they found survivors, former hosts, their bodies free from crystalline infection. Confused, traumatized, but human. Get these people below ground, Rebecca ordered, helping the disoriented woman to her feet, and gather every piece of crystalline tech you can find. We need to understand exactly what happened here. In the command center, Raj was already analyzing the data. The combination of the EMP and disruption field didn't just break their network connection, he explained, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. It completely destroyed their ability to maintain crystalline cohesion. Colonel, we found their fatal flaw. Rebecca stared at the results, hope rising in her chest for the first time in months. Send this data to all resistance cells, worldwide, and get me whatever you need to replicate this on a larger scale. The Concordat thought they could break humanity's spirit. It's time to show them how wrong they were. As the resistance celebrated their first major victory, Rebecca knew this was just the beginning. The Concordat would retaliate, probably with weapons and tactics they hadn't seen before. But something fundamental had changed today. Humanity had proven they could fight back effectively. The crystalline beings had chosen Earth thinking they would find easy prey. Instead, they had awakened a force they couldn't control. Looking at the freed hosts being treated in their medical bay, Rebecca smiled grimly. The real war was just beginning, and humanity finally had the weapons to fight it. The hidden advantage. In the depths of a repurposed mining facility beneath the Australian outback, Dr. Amara Okafor made a discovery that would reshape the war against the crystalline Concordat. What started as a routine analysis of freed host tissue samples had revealed something extraordinary. It doesn't make sense, she muttered, reviewing the holographic display for the 100th time. Their conversion process should be perfect, but it's not. Something in our biology is fighting back. The laboratory, once used for mineral analysis, now housed the most advanced biological research equipment, salvaged from facilities worldwide. 3 months had passed since the Vancouver victory, and resistance cells globally were replicating the EMP disruption field combination. But the Concordat was adapting, developing shielding that made each success more costly than the last. Professor Hideaki Tanaka, her mentor and the facility's lead researcher, leaned over her shoulder to study the data. "Show me," he said simply. Amara pulled up multiple tissue samples on the main display. "Look at these cellular structures. In every failed conversion attempt, we see the same pattern. Human cells aren't just resisting the crystallization process. They're learning from it. Learning." Hideaki's eyes widened as he processed the implications. "You mean our adaptive immunity?" Amara finished. "It's not just fighting the conversion. It's developing resistance. Each attempt to crystallize human tissue triggers an evolutionary response at the cellular level. We're literally evolving to fight them." Their discussion was interrupted by the arrival of General Thomas Corey, the highest-ranking military officer in the Southern Hemisphere resistance. His dark features were etched with exhaustion, but his eyes sparked with interest. "Please tell me you have good news," he said. "The Concordat just deployed something new in Africa, some kind of biological crystalline hybrid. Our disruption fields barely slow them down." Amara straightened, confidence flowing through her voice. "What we have is better than good news, General. We have a way to win." Over the next hour, she explained her discovery. Human biology wasn't just fighting the crystallization process. It was adapting to it, becoming stronger with each attempt. More importantly, she had found a way to accelerate this natural resistance. "The treatment isn't perfect," she cautioned, bringing up simulation results. "But if we can expose enough people to controlled doses of inert crystalline matter, we can trigger the adaptive response without risking conversion. Over time, humans would become naturally resistant to their technology." "How long?" Thomas asked, his tactical mind already working through the implications. "A month to produce the first batch of treatment. Another 2 weeks to verify safety. After that, we can start mass production using the crystalline debris from downed harvesters." The general nodded slowly. "And the side effects?" Amara hesitated. "There are some. Increased body temperature, enhanced electrical conductivity in cellular structures, some minor physical changes, but nothing compared to what the Concordat does to its hosts." "Minor physical changes," Hideaki pressed. "Small crystalline growths, completely under the subject's control. Think of it as biological armor. Our bodies are learning to use their weapons against them." The implications were staggering. Humanity wouldn't just be fighting back. They would be evolving into something new, something the Concordat had never encountered in all their centuries of conquest. General Curry made his decision. "How many people can you treat at once?" "With current facilities, maybe 100. But if we can secure more equipment, you'll have whatever you need," he promised. "I'm assigning a full combat team to protect this facility. Professor Tanaka, I want you coordinating with other resistance cells to set up additional treatment centers. Dr. Okafor, you'll oversee the program here." As they began implementing the plan, they discovered additional advantages. The treated humans didn't just resist conversion. They could interface with salvaged Concordat technology, turning the aliens' weapons against them. The crystalline growths that developed could be consciously controlled, providing natural armor and enhanced strength. But the greatest discovery came 6 weeks into the treatment program. During a Concordat attack on their facility, a treated soldier named Private Lai Wei discovered she could disrupt their consciousness network simply by focusing her thoughts. The crystalline structures in her evolved biology were naturally generating the same frequencies as their disruption devices. "It's not just resistance," Amara explained to a stunned command staff. "We're becoming natural disruptors. Every treated human is a walking weapon against their network." The news spread through resistance channels worldwide, bringing hope to the battered remains of humanity. The Concordat had believed themselves the pinnacle of evolution, using technology to force other species to conform to their ideal. Instead, they had created the circumstances for humanity to evolve beyond their control. In their arrogance, they had never considered that the very process they used to subjugate species might be turned against them. They had never encountered a species that could adapt so quickly, so fundamentally. As Amara watched another group of volunteers undergo treatment, she thought about the irony. The Concordat had come to Earth seeking to harvest humanity's adaptability for their own purposes. Now that same adaptability would be their undoing. "Ready the next phase," she instructed her team. "It's time to show the Concordat what human evolution really looks like." The war was far from over, but for the first time, humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to become something greater than themselves. The question was no longer if they would win, but what they would become in victory. Unity in adversity. The underground chamber beneath Geneva's ruins hummed with tension as leaders from every major resistance cell gathered for the first Global Defense Summit. On the central platform, Admiral Rashid Ibrahim, formerly of the Indian Navy, addressed the assembled commanders, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of holographic displays. "The Concordat never expected us to survive this long, let alone fight back," he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the makeshift amphitheater. "But thanks to Dr. Okafor's evolution protocol, we're no longer just surviving, we're winning." The tactical display behind him showed the last month's victories in glowing green points across a global map. Each light represented a liberated zone, areas where evolved humans had successfully driven back crystalline forces. However, he continued, his expression grave, "Our success has triggered an unprecedented response. Our orbital sensors detect massive Concordat reinforcements approaching. They're bringing their entire central fleet." Commander Sofia Torres, leader of the South American resistance, stepped forward. The crystalline growths along her arms gleamed in the low light, a badge of honor showing she was among the first to undergo the evolution protocol. "Then we finally have them right where we want them," she declared, her eyes glowing with a subtle inner light. Another sign of her evolved state. They're committing everything to this battle because they're afraid. For the first time in their history, they're facing a species that can beat them at their own game. The assembled leaders murmured in agreement. The evolution protocol had done more than just make humans resistant to conversion. It had given them abilities that matched and sometimes exceeded those of the Concordat. But more importantly, it had united humanity in ways no one could have predicted. Dr. Kai Wang, now head of the Asian Science Division, brought up new tactical data. "The protocol has spread to roughly 30% of our remaining population. Each evolved human acts as a disruption node against their network. If we can coordinate our evolved forces globally, we can create a planetary disruption field," finished General Yulia Petrov, her voice carrying the weight of authority earned in countless battles. "But it would require perfect synchronization across all resistance cells." That's when Professor Marcus Blackwood, a quantum physicist who'd been working on improving the original disruption technology, stepped up to the central platform. His dark skin contrasted with the white crystalline patterns that traced his temples, evidence of his own evolved state. "We can do better than that," he announced, initializing a new hologram. "The crystalline structures we've developed don't just disrupt their network, they can connect to each other. Every evolved human has the potential to link into a unified field of consciousness, similar to but distinct from the Concordat's network." The implications stunned the assembly into silence. What he was suggesting wasn't just coordination, it was transcendence. Admiral Ibrahim was the first to find his voice. "You're talking about creating our own network, one that could counter theirs." "Exactly," Marcus confirmed. "We've already tested it on a small scale. 20 evolved humans working in perfect synchronization can generate a disruption field strong enough to disable a harvester instantly. Imagine what we could do with millions." The chamber erupted in discussion, but Commander Torres raised her hand for silence. "There's more to consider," she said. "This kind of connection, it would change us fundamentally. We'd be creating something entirely new. Are we ready for that step?" Dr. Amara Okafor's voice came through the main communication channel from her facility in Australia. "We've already changed fundamentally. The question isn't whether we're ready. It's whether we're willing to embrace what we're becoming." The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the decision was unanimous. Humanity had already crossed the threshold of its own evolution. The only way forward was to see it through to its conclusion. Over the next week, resistance cells worldwide began implementing the connection protocol. The process was voluntary. Not every evolved human chose to join the network, but those who did discovered something extraordinary. The connection didn't erase individuality as the Concordat's network did. Instead, it enhanced it, creating the symphony of consciousness where each mind remained distinct while contributing to the whole. As the network grew, so did their capabilities. Evolved humans could now coordinate instantly across vast distances, sharing knowledge, experiences, and tactical information at the speed of thought. The crystalline structures in their bodies grew stronger, more refined, responding to their collective will with unprecedented precision. The Concordats' central fleet arrived to find not a scattered resistance, but a unified human consciousness ready to meet them. When the first bombs fell, they discovered their weapons faced not just physical barriers, but a coordinated psychic defense that turned their own energy back against them. As battles raged in orbit and on the ground, humanity's new network expanded exponentially. Each victory added more evolved humans to their connection, strengthening their collective power. The Concordat had sought to harvest humanity's adaptability. Instead, they had catalyzed our transformation into something they could never have anticipated. Admiral Ibrahim stood in the command center, watching through countless connected minds as humanity fought back across the globe. "Send word to all cells," he ordered, though the thought had barely formed before it rippled through the network. "The final phase begins now. Show them what humanity has become." The war was entering its final stage, but this was more than just a fight for survival. It was the moment when humanity would either transcend its limitations or fall trying. The Concordat had wanted to reshape humanity in their image. Instead, they had pushed us to reshape ourselves into something unprecedented in the galaxy's history. Triumph of the human spirit. The orbital defense platforms above Earth crackled with energy as the Concordat's central fleet launched its final offensive. In the networked consciousness of evolved humanity, billions of minds unified in purpose, preparing for the moment that would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of consciousness itself. Admiral Ibrahim, his crystalline augmentations pulsing with shared energy, stood in the Geneva Command Center. Through the network, he simultaneously experienced the battle from countless perspectives. Ground forces preparing defensive positions, evolved pilots manning salvaged crystalline ships, and orbital stations charging their disruption arrays. "They're deploying something new." Professor Blackwood's consciousness rippled through the network. Energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before. The Concordat's massive flagship, a crystalline structure larger than any previously encountered, moved into position above Earth's atmosphere. Its surface shifted, revealing what appeared to be a massive consciousness transfer array, a weapon designed to forcibly connect and convert every mind on the planet simultaneously. "They're desperate." Dr. Okafor's thoughts echoed through the collective. "They know they can't beat us conventionally anymore." The Concordat's final transmission reached every human mind. "Evolve or not, your resistance ends now. Your evolution is impressive but incomplete. Submit to perfection or face extinction." Admiral Ibrahim's response, carried through both traditional channels and the human network, was simple. "We choose neither." What followed was unlike any battle in human history. As the Concordat's consciousness weapon activated, humanity's network didn't just resist. It reached back. Millions of evolved humans, their minds linked in perfect harmony, turned the enemy's own consciousness network against them. Through their connection, they could see the truth. The crystalline Concordat wasn't the pinnacle of evolution they claimed to be. They were stuck, frozen in a single pattern of existence, desperately harvesting other species in an attempt to prevent their own stagnation. Professor Blackwood's consciousness sparked with sudden understanding. Their network, it's not just about control. It's about survival. They can't evolve anymore on their own. Dr. Okafor's mind joined his in revelation. That's why they harvest adaptable species. They need our capacity for change. The battle shifted from physical to metaphysical as humanity's network expanded to encompass the Concordat's consciousness weapon. Instead of being converted, evolved humans began broadcasting their own evolution process through the enemy's network. The effect was catastrophic for the Concordat. Their rigid, crystalline consciousness couldn't handle the fluid adaptability of human evolution. Ship after ship began to destabilize as their crews experienced something they hadn't felt in millennia. Change. They're trying to disconnect. Commander Torres' consciousness flared with tactical insight. Push harder. Don't let them retreat. Through their network, humanity could sense the panic in the Concordat forces. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they faced not just defeat, but transformation. The very adaptability they had tried to harvest was now forcing them to evolve. The Concordat flagship's crystal structure began to crack, not from weapons fire, but from the changes occurring within. Its crew, connected to humanity's network, were experiencing forced evolution, their rigid crystalline forms becoming fluid adaptive. Admiral Ibrahim felt the moment approaching, the critical point where victory or defeat would be determined by a single decision. Through the network, he gathered humanity's collective will. "We offer you a choice." His thoughts reached every Concordat mind. "Continue fighting and face destruction, or accept change and join us in true evolution." The response came not in words, but in sensations: fear, resistance, and then acceptance. The Concordat's network, built over millennia of conquest, began to harmonize with humanity's evolved consciousness. The transformation was beautiful and terrifying to witness. Crystalline ships morphed into new forms, their crews experiencing true adaptation for the first time. The rigid hierarchy of the Concordat dissolved, replaced by a fluid exchange of consciousness that preserved individuality while fostering connection. As the sun rose over Earth's horizon, humanity had achieved more than victory. They had initiated a transformation that would ripple across the galaxy. The Concordat's empire, built on forced conformity, was being reborn into something new, a true Concordat of evolving consciousness. Dr. Okafor's final analysis rippled through the network. "We didn't just survive their attempt to harvest our adaptability. We showed them what real evolution looks like. Not the forced conformity they practiced, but true growth through challenge and change." In the aftermath, Earth became the center of a new kind of civilization. The evolved humans and transformed Concordat members began working together, exploring the full potential of consciousness and evolution. The rigid crystalline structures that had defined the Concordat were replaced by fluid, adaptive forms that could change and grow. Admiral Ibrahim stood on the observation deck of the former Concordat flagship, now transformed into a symbol of unity. Through the network, he could feel the thoughts of billions, human and former Concordat alike, all growing, changing, evolving together. "They came to harvest our strength," he reflected, his thoughts shared across the collective consciousness. "Instead, we taught them that true strength lies not in domination, but in the courage to change and grow." The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of new possibilities. Humanity had not just survived. They had transformed an ancient enemy into an ally, turning a harvest of adaptation into a renaissance of consciousness. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point. In the end, the brutal reality of human strength wasn't in our ability to fight or resist. It was in our endless capacity to adapt, to change, and to help others do the same. The lesson had been learned, not just by humanity, but by all who witnessed our transformation. True strength lies not in remaining unchanging, but in having the courage to evolve.